Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to read a comprehension. How to read a comprehension or how to read an extract. It could be a pamphlet or what have you, but if it has a context to it and it has paragraphs to it, a story or novel, there are certain categories of comprehensions that require a certain intonation when reading. Now, most of us in our schools all around the world, especially in Africa to be precise, we have got this particular or specific way that we adapt in reading our comprehension, regardless of the fact that we have actually imbibed the British culture and American culture. But our reading methodology, our strategy, our critical thinking and method of reading is very, very foul. And I'll give it the reason why. Now, if you look at a comprehension passage or an extract or whatever you wish to call it in your country, there are certain paragraphs that require different intonations. So of course, sometimes you can have a high intonation and lower intonation. And the inflation depends on what the message is all about within the extract or the comprehension. Now, I'm going to be giving you a little a passage later on after this video to explain some of the certain criteria required in your voice while you're reading a comprehension, because most of us in our schools do not adhere to the policy, rules, regulations on how a comprehension is read. But first, what is the purpose of a comprehension? Now, a comprehension, depending on the context of the message given, has a certain intonation that entertains this listener. When you're reading a comprehension, there should be a particular proportionate entertainment to the comprehension you're reading, to yourself and the people you're reading to. So it's very important that we understand that when you're reading a passage or an extract, the listener or the narrator should be able to be enticed and be involved in what he or she is reading and the person listening to what you're reading. So it's very important that we adhere to certain rules that applies to a reading comprehension and not just reading, because when you look at it in the critical way, you find it when someone is reading the comprehension, each and every person around that narrator or reader finds it very boring and is actually expecting the person to conclude his reading because they do not understand what the person is saying, or even if they do, it doesn't actually become very interesting to listen to, because the person uses a certain single inflation in reading the comprehension, and that's not supposed to be how you read a comprehension. It should be in a way that it tells the person as if he or she is actually there listening or watching the event happen. So after this video, I might be posting the passage, and you listen to how I read the comprehension passage or an extract and see if it actually tallies or comes hand in hand with your methodology in reading. Now, if it doesn't come together, you can actually apply this in your school and ensure that students actually abide by the rules of the inflation, by the a higher inflation or a fall in intonation, whatever it is. But we have to read a passage using all the explicit information with the right intonation. So watch the next video. I'm going to be posting on how to read a passage. Thank you.